All aboard! Well, hello there and welcome to this week's build. And this week I'm going to do a build for the diecast and modelers community, and this one's a charity build we do yearly for Alzheimer's and dementia charities, and the theme is Paint It Blue. And seeing as I'm doing the British Rail Blue period, it's ideal. I got this cheap eBay loco, and it has damaged sides. It was the moulding with the old lines in the bodywork for where the paintwork were done for the British Rail two-tone green livery. Except they left it on with the blue livery and it looked awkward. With two moulded lines going down the entire length of the locomotive, it just didn't look right. It didn't look good whatsoever. Looked alright in the green, but here you can see the gouges in the body side. You can see the lines. It just doesn't look good. I think somebody's put a nameplate on and made a bad job of it, took it off and gouged it, and it's just not a good. Anyway, it got filled and sanded down. It's still not perfect by any means, but it's a lot better. And I've scraped, and now I'm sanding off the lines down the side to make it, because in effect it is a nice actual shape. And once all the filling and sanding were done, give it a layer of primer. It doesn't have to be greatly thick because it's going back into the same colours in effect. First off, because it's lighter colour and you'd never get it sprayed over the blue. I do the yellow cab ends. It'd have probably been better over pink primer, but hey, there we go. It is what it is. I'm living with what I've got. And that's the yellow ends done. So masked them off and did the BR blue. For those observant of you, which I wasn't, that's a 33 body. I did absolutely ages ago. I did do the 47, I think he's probably just behind this. I've probably left both of them on instead of cutting the 33 out. Yep, there you go, there's a 47. So instead of cutting the 33 out, you got both. Double your value for money really, isn't it? And here I'm just touching up the yellows where I've had bleed. And at this point I checked for running. Nice little spark. I was working in the lab late one night. He did a mash. He did the monster mash. It was a graveyard smash. Anyway, there we go, it's running. Quite nice, averagely nice, but it'll do. And what I'm doing here, I've masked the rest of the loco off. And I'm spraying a light grey roof. Which in turn later on when I weather it, will get torn down. But at that moment, it was what it was in here. I've put a bit of black tack on a hammer shaft because it didn't have black plates, this loco. If you've read it already, it's the City of Truro. I sprayed them red. Then because it's raised lettering, I went over it with a knife and scraped the paint off the top to get back to all the lettering looking good. So the next thing, I go over it with a little bit of very fine emery cloth, polish it up a bit, remove scratches. So it's polished up, and next, last but not least, it gets a little bit of polish. I'm using silver water salt to give it a polish. Not that you can see for me big hand in the way anyway. Not that you'd notice. And here we are. Now the other one out of the way. Anyway, here I'm putting some PVA glue in to hold the head cord board in. Do the other side. Make sure it's the right way up. And now that's done, we're going to coat. I'm replacing the normal glazing with flush glazing, which instead of the glazing being a one-piece insert, each piece is individual, and it makes it flush with the actual bodywork. So it looks better, is what I'm saying, I guess. And we're decaling now. That's the there and back logo. We use, I don't know there is a proper name for it. I can't think of it at the moment, but we used to call it the there and back. And here I'm beginning to number it. And the City of Truro was 47076. So it was a 47 or class. Class 470, I should say. And put a loco data panel on it for tops, because mine were firmly in the tops era. And there I was putting on an overhead wires cable. Overhead wires sign. The caution sign. And what I'm doing here, I'm stripping down the mortar to give it a clean up. It didn't really need a lot. It was a reasonably new mortar. The way that one is, it signifies a hornby china mortar. This loco's actually made up. It wasn't a complete loco, it's actually made up from all different parts. It's a backyard bitzer. He's got a bit of this, he's got a bit of that. It was originally a silver seal one with metal chassis, but it ended up getting a modern plastic chassis, modern motor bogie, a modern bogie. So it's definitely a mongrel, is what I'm saying. It hasn't got a pure pedigree. And here I'm just, what I'm doing there, I like doing it on all my mortars. the gaps in between often, they feel rough as you pass fingernail and that over them. So what I do, I get a bit of Solvo and a bit of wet and dry, and I buff them down till they're smooth, so it'll be nice and smooth for the brushes passing over the top of them. It'll cut. My aim is to have two things, for it to run better and for it to wear the brushes out less. That's where I'm going with it anyway. That's the idea behind it. And here I'm doing a bit of lubrication. I'm oiling it up. There's nothing like being well oiled. And there we are. That says about it for that. Some terrible editing. And here I'm putting the body back on, or at least I'm checking it for fit. I end up because it's a backyard bit, so, and I actually put brass tubing on to repair the buffers, and I put the buffers into the brass tubing. So I've had to file down the brass tubing at the back because it wasn't quite flush and it wasn't fitting proper. But here we go, that's it off again. But we got it to fit eventually. And here we go, and what I'm doing now, I decided the roof were too light, so this is where the weathering begins in earnest. What I'm doing, I'm rubbing black oil paint into it, so it goes into all the low down recesses. And what I guess I'm saying is I'm putting shadowing on. I like using this technique because it also gives you, it also dirties up light colours as well, so it's a sort of double-edged sword. It gives you a nicer roof. You could get off with it just like that if you wanted to, but it's having more work. Taking a break from the weathering at the moment because I also wired in LED. I took out the hornby. Well, sorry, it didn't even have the hornby lighting in this one, but I installed it. I had to buy the cab interiors because I didn't have any cab interiors. I had to buy that weight for it because it didn't have a weight. But I'm soldering up all the connections, rewiring it. I'm wiring all the LED lighting up. There, I've done what I'm doing there. I'm just wiring the negative terminal that goes on to the rear bogie. And there, I'm wiring up a resistor onto the LED, because if it got 12 volt going into it, it'd blow it, because the LED's only 3 volt. So what a resistor does is drop the voltage down. It drops the voltage down from 12 volts down to 3 volts, so it doesn't blow the bulb. I had a bit of fun though. I checked an LED by running 12 volts around it, and all I heard was a little pop and the head flew off it. Happy days. It were like scanners for anybody who ever saw that film. And that was the positioning of my light bulb. I also did a plug, and if it didn't work I could reverse it. And there we go, directional lighting's working. It comes on one end and stops off on the other, according to which way your polarity is. Because LEDs, like, on LEDs your current will only flow through one way. And here we go. What I'm doing is white oil paint. During the British Rail Blue days, they had fleet train washes, and they were at Newton Heath Shed, the nearest ones in Manchester. And back in them days, they weren't particularly fantastic paints like they are now. And what happened? They used an acidic liquid in the washes for removing dirt, but unfortunately what it did, it also faded the paint as they went through the washes. And what I'm doing here, I'm doing a chocolatey brown colour to colour in the chassis, giving it a quick blow over. And also up the sides a little bit, because you can't really underestimate how sometimes you say you've gone too far, but if you saw British Rail locos in the 70s during the midst of the coldest winters, you'd have known what dirty went. They never get dirty today, most of them. Well, they certainly did in the 70s. Some of them got absolutely filthy. Well, 70s, early 80s. And here I'm using Vallejo Brown Violet, as it has a greeny tinge and it's a browny green tinge for the dirty roof on top. The bottom colour I used with the Vallejo Track Primer from Panzer Aces. It was quite good. Quite good colour for doing what you want. And there we go. And what am I doing on this bit here? Trying to remember what I was doing. Ah, that were it. I've got a sharp, scrubby little brush sort of thing. And that one's a wide flat brush. But what I'm doing is drawing down the roof dirt colour down the side like it's rained, and it's gone down with it. Yeah, it's like it's rained, and the rain's washed some of the roof grime down the sides. And at this point, I'm removing. I've sprayed it in matte varnish to seal all the weathering in, and I'm removing it with a Q-tip from the windows, so the windows are glossy like they've been cleaned. And do the side ones. In reality, they wouldn't have bothered cleaning them windows, because they were never going to look out for them and look into them. They were just engine room windows. They'd have cleaned the cab windows and windscreens. But I don't honestly believe they ever cleaned them side windows. Anyway, here we go. Coming round with directional lights working. Looking at trains. And last bus past on this one. And there we go. And here we are next to a previous one I made with DCC on it. Anyway, all that remains to say is tatty pie, everyone. Tatty pie.